Good afternoon. Welcome to our May contract entity meeting. My name is Joy Weems. I am the Provider Services Manager for PHL Pre-K, and I will be your facilitator for today's meeting. Just a few reminders. Please remember to mute your phones and computers. Also, you can enter questions or comments in the chat box, and we will have time selected throughout the presentation to respond to your questions. Our agenda for this afternoon, we will discuss the FY25 seat selection. There will be enrollment updates from the Office of Children and Families. We will discuss ASQ Online, TSG Checkpoint, kindergarten registration, family engagement monitoring, supplemental funding updates, FY24 closeout activities, and then we will end the presentation with updates regarding quality supports. At this time, I will turn the presentation over to Carrie Lee to discuss the FY25 seat selection.
Thanks, Joy. Hello, everyone. I'm Carrie Lee, the Contracts Manager. Just wanted to give a quick update on FY25 seat selection. You all should have received initial notices sent via email in early April about next year's seats. Official notices of awards are anticipated in late May. And we'll also be sending out a separate communications about exhibits and contracts trainings that are going to be happening over the summer. So look out for that as well. That's it for me.
Thanks, Carrie. At this time, I will turn the presentation over to Sean Perkins from the Office of Children and Families. I'm sorry.
Great. Thank you, Joy. Thank you for all of you for being here today. Excited to announce some improvements that the city's ready to roll out for you all for the 24-25 school year. For those who have been paying attention, we've had a new search tool on a website called Free Philly Pre-K for families to search for options all in one place. Those options being Head Start Supplemental, Pre-K Counts, and PHL Pre-K, all the free full-day preschool options in Philadelphia, all in one search feature. Now we are ready to roll out the application for families to apply for any of those 370 public preschool sites, of whom you all are representative of. With that being said, I have a short presentation to go over with you all to explain some of this rollout, but because you will be muted here, if you could put your questions into the chat, that'd be great. Mayor Parker plans to announce this online portal platform to be released on June 3rd. She will announce this at the Day of Play this Saturday at Smith Memorial Playground. You should have received those notifications about the Day of Play that we'll be hosting there. So if you can join, please do. We have a lot of fun and entertainment. Invite your families to come as well. And you'll hear some sentiments and details from Mayor Parker and as well as our Deputy Chief Managing Director, Vanessa Garrett-Harley, and a few other speakers. So hopefully you can make it out Saturday from 11 to 2 over at Smith Memorial. And with that, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the online universal enrollment platform. Give me one moment. Here we go. Let's see. Can Carrie or Joy? I don't see any faces. Can someone tell me if you can see my screen?
We can see it. Yes.
Great. Thanks, everyone. So we're here to talk about Philly Pre-K. That's all Head Start Supplemental, Pre-K Counts, PHL Pre-K, the access and enrollment. To discuss this, we'll reiterate what the Mayor Parker's pre-K priorities are. We'll set some context about what public preschool looks like in Philadelphia, a timeline of a rollout of a universal application, the process and flow, and then we actually won't do a demonstration today. We're going to save that for your enrollment training that'll happen in the middle of May. The purpose of a unified access and enrollment center is to improve our enrollment rates. We have federal, state, and local dollars invested in free pre-K in Philadelphia that we are not filling our seats, and as a result, we have been losing federal and state dollars, and we don't want to jeopardize those anymore. We also don't want to jeopardize any of the local investments that have been put into this because we are not filling seats. So in order to do that, we want to create one-stop shop for families eventually, but for this year, we are launching this universal enrollment tool as an additional option for families to enroll. You will still be able to use your paper applications if that's the way you want to go. I doubt you will want to go that way when you get to see what the platform looks like. It's very user-friendly, 12 languages, mobile-friendly. All the attachments go into this one site. With that being said, we want to modernize the process to improve family and provider experiences. But we know not everybody is technological savvy. Not everybody has access to a mobile device. So that's why we'll still use the traditional forms for this year. When I say traditional, I mean paper, but we've upgraded those a bit. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that in just a minute. We want to streamline our communications and outreach. We don't like the school district having one series of outreaches, and the PHL pre-K program has one. The providers do something, Head Start grantees do another thing. We want to streamline this. We want to eliminate multiple deadlines, and we want to reduce wait lists and reassignments as much as possible. With that, Mayor Parker's pre-K priorities, thankful to all of you as providers who have weighed in on these, but we have broken these into two major segments. The first of which is just to strengthen the foundation of the early childhood sector all across the board. Sorry, Nikita, can you please mute yourself? Thanks. So strengthen the foundation includes supporting the current workforce and to build the future workforce pipeline and to maximize all of our public preschool investments. As I mentioned before, our federal, state, and local dollars, as well as philanthropic dollars, we want to maximize those and not lose any of them because we don't have enough as it is. That while we strengthen our foundation, we look to better meet our community's needs by remodeling interventions for children with exceptionalities. That includes not just developmental and intellectual exceptionalities that get diagnosed through Elwin as the LEA, but also mental behavioral health needs of children exhibiting challenging behaviors and language needs, as well as anything else that would require an intervention by you all. We need to expand our access to pre-K. We have deserts still. We also don't have enough infant and toddler options for families. But for today, we're going to focus here on 3 and 4-year-olds because that's what's in our purview at the moment. We also want to create a one-stop enrollment and access point. That's what we'll be talking about, and more regular and meaningful stakeholder engagements, of which this is a meeting to hopefully check that box. But we're going to start with maximizing our public preschool investments and creating a one-stop enrollment and access point. Coming up next will be our support of the current workforce and building a future pipeline. Not ready to announce any of that today, but be on the lookout for some more announcements coming in the near future. So as I mentioned before, we're starting with this. We want to get to this part, and we look to more supports for providers and teachers on the better meeting community needs. To establish a little bit of context, why, what are we doing this for? Why are we creating a one-stop enrollment center for families? Well, we know that navigating public pre-K is very complicated, not just in Philadelphia, but across the country. I belong to 10 or 11 different parent Facebook groups that I've been watching for the past 4 years, just to understand what families' navigation process is like, and been taking these screenshots to look at, to capture, like, this is hard. It's not simple for families to have to navigate. As Anna put here, I think it was January back last year, she had a PHL pre-K question. She received a mailer from the school district to register for pre-K. They followed the link and registered, but the actual PHL pre-K website hasn't been updated for the 04-05 school year. I'm not sure if I registered for the correct program. Yes, Anna, that's right. That's hard. You're right. It's complicated. Marta wrote, is there a secret for securing a Philip pre-K spot in the 24 school year? Rachel had put back in 22, just letting you know there are a lot of pre-K spots open in district schools. Even if you think you do not meet the income limit, consider applying. And then Rachel posts to the Philadelphia School District application, which is unique from the PHL pre-K application, which might even be unique from a pre-K counts application that one of our providers might have. And finally, Samantha, I think, said it and summarized it a little bit better. I did all this last year, and Philly makes it unnecessarily complicated. When I was trying to apply for my son, the center told me to apply directly to them first instead of online because the city doesn't send them the information for a long time. Got it, right? There's a problem. It's this hard. And we know it's hard, largely because in Philadelphia and many other cities, we braid our funding to maximize all the funding that is available in Philadelphia. So we largely have federal dollars coming in for the Head Start program, of which we have about 5,500 seats in Philly. The state matches some of that Head Start to be a Head Start supplemental initiative, where we have about 2,000 seats across the city. The state also has the Pre-K Counts initiative for families that have a different level of eligibility criteria. And then the city itself has PHL Pre-K through the beverage tax, which has a different level of eligibility criteria. That's complicated. It's complicated for me to navigate, and that's my job. It's complicated for families, especially families who don't have the same advantages of time and energy to navigate all of these as maybe some of us do, or even myself. And for a little bit more context, across Philly, we have about 370 public preschool sites, of which you all are representative of. Of those 367 or 370, it's right around that mark. We have 160 that offer just PHL Pre-K. Some of you might be that. But it's important for us to be aware of all of Philadelphia, not just your specific center, so we can best meet as many family needs as many as our public preschools as possible. And I call out here about 25% or 94 sites across Philadelphia blend their funding. That means they have Head Start and Pre-K Counts, or they have Head Start and PHL Pre-K. There's 11 sites of you out there that have Head Start and Pre-K Counts and PHL Pre-K. But then when you look at that share of how many seats, those 94 sites have half of the seats. So they actually have, at their 94 centers, they have half of all the publicly funded seats across Philadelphia. What does that mean? That means it's hard for families to have to navigate, like, what am I eligible for? What am I trying to get my child into? What's best for my family's needs? And that's why we're here, to try and create something that improves enrollment rates, to reduce the burden on families, to modernize our process, to streamline this more, and to eliminate multiple different deadlines. All right, so that's queuing up for us a bit of a timeline to share, like, what's the rollout here. On April 11th, you should have received your intent to award of how many PHL Pre-K seats you will be receiving in the 24-25 school year. Back on April 20th, we received some initial feedback from some families on a unified enrollment system. Now this week, we are engaging with you, the providers, to get some system feedback as well. Please put your questions and comments in the chat, and I'll handle those once we get towards the end. On Saturday, the 4th of this month, now we are in May, we have the citywide play dates, as I mentioned before, over at Smith Memorial Playground, where Mayor Parker will announce the unified enrollment launching on June 3rd. May 10th, we are aiming to finalize our communication strategies. That means we'll get out all the paperwork to you all to understand. Go tell families to enroll using freephillyprek.org as our website. And we'll have bus ads and social media ads and radio ads and all those fun things. But we'll have one coordinated messaging between the city and the school district. We'll have your childcare databases updated then as well, and we want to have our enrollment trainings May 21st through the 24th. So you'll actually get to see what the online application looks like and how you enter that data and how you end up getting it into childcare. We will finalize hopefully all of that paperwork. We give ourselves a week of buffer just to make some system adjustments. And then June 3rd, we'll launch Free Philly Pre-K. So that way families can go in and do their applications there. And then you as providers can go in and see how families are ranking your site. And if you have vacancies, how you can go ahead, retrieve their documents and start enrolling those families. Again, we'll also have a paper application. We are getting that translated right now. It'll be available in 12 different languages. Same thing with the online portal, 12 different languages we'll have available. This is all with a vision of in January of 2025. So that's, what is that, 8 months from now? 7 months from now, we are aiming to have a single application released for the 25-26 school year. We know many of you have been building your wait lists now and getting information from families to begin enrolling for the 24-25 school year. We want to start that process earlier next year, so that way we can just have one application as opposed to having the school district already releases theirs in January or February. We want to unify that all together on one timeline. But we're creating the infrastructure right now so we can play catch up for next year. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the process and flow of how applications go, and then how we have to be in good communication with one another. So that way we, the administration, being the city, PHMC, and the school district, when we look in there and see that you have vacancies that you're going ahead and trying to fill those with families that are applying and being responsive to families as much as possible. And we look at those shared responsibilities in three lenses. There's the family, that's the person or individuals, caregivers who are completing this enrollment process to send their child to preschool. The provider, that's you. You are the agencies responsible for providing the early learning experience. And the administrator, that's us. That's the city, the school district, and PHMC. We also coordinate closely with OCDEL and ELRC 18. We're responsible for managing and overseeing public taxpayer dollars, right? We collect tax dollars and we want to make sure that they're being accounted for and being used efficiently and effectively. So that way families are getting the services that they are seeking. So between the three of us, we need to work closely together to make sure we launch something that is usable by our families and by our children. And it starts with the family searching for the site that best meets their needs. And that includes site visits, that includes showing up in person, but it also includes the Explore tool that we released back in February. And I think that you all have seen that because we held a few information sessions. If you did not, we did a YouTube recording of it, and we will be sure to distribute that meeting as well. So a family searches on Explore, which currently exists, but then how do they get in? Well, that's what we're launching June 3rd, is we will have an online application tool for families to apply. And that application covers really three important components that I think is critical to the application itself. The first is information and documentation from the families to determine what they're eligible for. So that way, if a follow-up needs to happen or some corrections need to take place, we have that information for a family. The second is for a family to indicate where the locations they want to send their child. It's important for us to know, like, what's your first choice, second choice, third choice. And then finally, it's a timestamp. It is a record that has been kept that says, yes, here's my information as a family. I submitted it on June 4th at 11:50 a.m. And we get to look at that. That's a record that we get to look at to start the process of how do we get this family into a center of their choosing. So again, they have an application, they hit submit, they have to make sure that they attach their documents, which includes income, which includes child's date of birth, right? We need a birth certificate or some other identification that shows the child's birth date is it is 3 or 4 years old by September 1st, and an identification of the family to prove residency. The provider then reviews the applications. They review their own wait list. They review eligibility determination to understand, oh, this child is eligible for Head Start. I'll fill them in a Head Start seat. Or this child will be eligible for pre-K counts. I'll put them in a pre-K count seat. Or this child will be eligible in PHL pre-K. I want to make sure that they fit into that slot. But on the back end, us as administrators will be reviewing your vacancies. We'll look at your applications that you haven't tagged yet, or that you haven't reviewed, or you haven't admitted, to then reach out to you to say, hey, I've noticed that you have a lot of vacancies. How come you haven't completed the applications that are sitting in your online portal? These are families that have been waiting a week to hear from you. And that communication is critical because perhaps your admission specialist might be on vacation, or they might not be processing applications fast enough. It might be that you're processing children who have various IEPs to make sure that their services are able to be accommodated. It might be that you have children with language needs that you want to make sure that those services are needed. Or perhaps you just haven't processed the backlog because you haven't looked at it yet and the training didn't make sense to you, or you didn't attend the training. That's when we're going to make sure that you are processing these and be held accountable for processing them. So after you've reviewed those applications, you then providers will inform the families. Hopefully it's an admission, and then everybody's really happy about what that means to get to day one at school. But perhaps you're full already and you need to move the family to the wait list. You inform them, and then that application moves on to their second choice. Or it's possible that the application needs additional data. That case, you'd reach back out to the family and say, hey, we noticed that your birth certificate was illegible, or it doesn't match up with the name on the application you submitted. Please go back and correct this. But assuming it's an admission, the provider gets to inform the family of, this is the location you've been admitted to. Here's what day one looks like. But as we all know, there are additional documentation needed, much like immunization paperwork or different DHS forms that need to be completed. So telling the family, we have a seat for you. We want to see you on September 4th or whatever your first day of school might be. However, we need to make sure that you have immunization records so that way we have a safe and secure location for you and for the rest of the families that are attending my site. and then you begin providing the pre-K services. So it's a lot here. I know that there are more details that go into this process. I tried to take this from like a bit of a 10,000 foot view so that we could all see a little bit how the flow works. The most critical point, I think, is how administrators, PHMC, and the school district are engaging with you as a provider while you are actually doing the intake process and you are assigning families yourself. Again, we want to do this so we can fill seats as much as possible and not leave dollars back on the table and to serve more families. I drafted a little bit of a communication tool that I have no graphic design experience. I only play around with these triangles, circles, and squares on PowerPoint. And what I tried to come up with is a communication tool for families to be aware that we're looking at really 3 steps before the child's first day of pre-K. The first is searching and applying. So go on to freephillyprekk.org, go visit centers, apply, go to the application documentation, attach your documents, and make sure you select at least 3 sites or up to 3 sites where, centers can meet your family's needs. After that, as a family, please get prepared. After you submit the application, be prepared to answer the phone or answer your emails to get some additional information. It's possible that you might need a Head Start interview, or you might need to verify a few things before we move to stage 3, which is receive and confirm your admission. So after you receive your admission notice, you get a certain amount of days to confirm, but also gather documents, because before your first day, we're going to need some additional records. And then your first day, bring the tissues and all final enrollment documents to the preschool to ensure a safe and secure center. Throughout the year, families, you'll get updates on your child's development as they prepare for kindergarten. So again, this is just a kind of a bare minimum flow chart to hopefully inform families a little bit more. I hope it's useful for you all. We keep receiving feedback on this. Today is meant as more of an announcement for you all to just be aware of like what we're building up for you all. It's again meant to be a supplement, not a supplanting. We are not getting rid of the enrollment process you currently utilize because especially the school district already launched theirs in January. It's meant as if we have no wrong door into enrolling into pre-K. Now, towards the middle end of May, we'll do some more demonstrations at your enrollment trainings. But by and large, you'll see what Free Philly Pre-K looks like if you just go to the website now. We've circulated this before. We'll make sure we circulate it again. But we look forward to your enrollment trainings to give you some more feedback, some more input onto how this all works. But for now, I want to ask Joy, could you let me know if there are any major questions in the chat?
No, we actually do not have any questions.
Awesome. If anybody does throughout this, if you're like me, I don't grasp it all on the first go round. It sometimes takes me a little while to digest it and think about it a little bit more. Feel free to put them in the chat here. You could always email me at sean.perkins@phila.gov. You can always email your provider support specialist or phlprek@phmc.org. I'll put my email in the chat as well, but thank you for your time. I hope this is good for you and for your families. We've certainly heard it from families that they're excited about what this looks like. 12 different languages, mobile friendly, all the Head Start, HISAP, pre-K counts, PHL pre-K options, and Philly all in one place. And hopefully we have a lot more exciting information to come to you all soon. Thank you again. I'll turn it back over to PHMC for the remainder of their presentation.
Thanks, Sean. Okay, at this time, we will have a presentation from Cassandra regarding the ASQ online.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so ASQ Online. A number of you on this call have probably attended a training, an onboarding training at this point, but probably a lot of you still haven't. I just wanted to go over, just some clarification around what's going on with the training so far. So if your ASQ key codes are on file with PHMC and you filled out that Cognito form to let us know who your program administrator for ASQ should be, then you should have been invited to an ASQ online training at this point. If you think that you have done both of those things and you still haven't received an invitation, please shoot me an email, ccuriasis@phmc.org. I'll drop that in the chat. If you still haven't filled out the Cognito form, you should have you should have received an email reminder yesterday and a reminder from your provider services specialist to please do that as soon as possible. Even if you don't have your key codes, we would still like you to fill out that form so that we understand for sure that you don't have them. I've also had a couple sites fill it out in the past 2 weeks who it turned out did have codes, which is also information that we would love to know. And then also, if one or both of your key codes are missing, we are working on obtaining replacement codes. We've already obtained one set and we're working on another set so that everybody has them and is ready to go for FY25. But if they're missing, there's no action needed from you on that front. You don't need to go out and find one. We're going to get one for you. And then are ASQ online trainings required? Yes, they are, unless you are a school district provider or you have spoken with PHMC staff about your existing ASQ online account and how you will be using it a little bit differently from everyone else. So there's a very, very small handful of providers who we're in communication with. You should know who you are if you're on this call. If you haven't been invited to a training yet, that is likely because you don't have your key codes and we don't want to train you before you're able to get in there and really click around. The importance of the key codes is that it allows you to actually enter in screenings and see all the different types of reports and functionality that's in there. Without them, ASQ Online is like not super, there's not really a lot of stuff that you can do. If you haven't been invited to a training yet, you should have, you will be invited at least by July, August, September, once we get key codes for everyone, or you fill out that Cognito form. So there's a handful of providers who still haven't filled out the form, which is why you haven't been invited if you do have your key codes. Trainings are capped at 20 participants, so you want to sign up as soon as you can to make sure that you get to one in time for FY25. And then just a reminder of what you can expect from the training if you are signed up for an upcoming one. The training is 2 hours and has interactive portions. You want to plan to be with your computer during that training, ready to do a couple practice activities in the system with us. And then again, you would have received a personalized invite if you're eligible to attend these at this point. The next trainings are Friday, May 10th and Monday, May 20th. And then once you do attend the training, you get your ASQ login and you receive the training PowerPoint, which has a lot of helpful information about how to get set up in the system. And then just to go over for everyone who's been to a training or who hasn't been to a training yet, we've had a lot of questions about this. Are you expected to use ASQ online in FY24? No, we're rounding up the school year now. If you gain access to your account in FY24, if you attend one of these trainings, you're just encouraged to click around and familiarize yourself with ASQ online, maybe create any other users who need access. If you wish to enter screenings for children, you may, but you're not required to enter in any information for this year. And then the expectations for ASQ online in FY25 are that you are expected to enter ASQ3 and SE screenings and rescreenings into the platform for all PHL pre-K children in FY25. Okay. I'm just going to check the chat quickly to see if we have any questions about that. I don't see any questions. I'm going to put I see Sean put his email here. I'm going to put my email here if you do have any questions about ASQ Online. And then I'm going to shift gears to Teaching Strategies Gold. The spring checkpoint is on May 15th, which is in 2 weeks. Just some quick reminders for documentation. At this point, you should have almost all your documentation entered for all PHL pre-K children for this checkpoint. Just a reminder that if a child enrolled on or before May 1st, which is today, they should be included in that checkpoint. So even if you were not able to observe them for all areas, you would put for the areas that you haven't gotten to, you could put not yet observed, but the child should be entered into TSG. And then each child should have at least one piece of documentation entered per area, unless again, they were enrolled very, very recently and you weren't able to get to them for a few of the areas. Finalizing the assessment, each child needs to be finalized in all areas at 100% by the checkpoint. And then today, the data team, the PHMC data team is doing our assessment check. to see how far along you are with assessments. If you're at 0% still today, if you haven't started on any of the finalizing, likely your specialist and SPAR coach will be checking in with you later this week or early next week to make sure that you're prepared and ready to have all children finalized by that May 15th deadline. Okay, and that's everything from me for now.
Thanks, Cassandra. Jen will present information on the kindergarten transition.
Yes, happy Wednesday. So kindergarten transition is here. Kindergarten registration expectations for PHL pre-K are that you as the provider confirm kindergarten registration is completed for all kindergarten eligible children who will turn 5 by September 1st, 2024. We ask that you document where each child will be attending school in September in childware by Friday, May 31st. We thank you in advance for doing that. We have shared some helpful resources here where there's a resource guide for input in kindergarten transition notes and documentation in childware. There's also a tip sheet for how to do a bulk upload of notes for all the children that are transitioning into kindergarten. There's also the kindergarten transition plan template in the event that you want to review that or that wasn't completed for children. And lastly, meeting kindergarten contract deliverables guide. Please feel free to use those resources. If you need any support or have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to your team. In that same line, the School District of Philadelphia has officially launched kindergarten registration, their campaign for it. So they have a kindergarten registration toolkit that we have shared. It's in the newsletter on Fridays as well. Will be in this presentation for you to have with some great pieces for you to have for supporting those families that are transitioning. Kindergarten Open House Week is May 13th through May 17th. So we have the link here for where they will be at the schools and what time so that you can share with your family so they can go and check out what it will look like on the other side of pre-K. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Jen. This is the time of the year where the provider services team will be monitoring for family engagement. Providers must demonstrate evidence of at least one family communication per child and a program-wide communication. Acceptable documents of evidence include TSG developmental reports, documentation of parent-teacher conferences, daily reports, program-wide communications, which includes flyers, newsletters, or calendars, documentation of the kindergarten transition meeting, and communication apps, such as Tadpoles or Class Dojo. If you have not heard from your provider service specialist, you will hear from your specialist soon to discuss the family engagement monitoring. I will turn it over to Kerry, who will discuss supplemental funding.
Okay, so spending plans were due on April 15th. The majority have gotten them approved. There are a handful of folks that needed revisions, and you must have heard from your specialist. So if you are one of those folks, please make sure you make your revisions and then upload it back into the form as soon as possible. As a reminder, expenses may be incurred from July 1st, 2023 to May 31st, 2024, and all funds have to be used by May 31st. Expense reports are going to be due by June 10th. That's going to outline how you spent the funds and how much you spent the funds, what you spent the funds on, and any unspent funds will be deducted from May and June payments. And so those recoups will occur with May and June invoices if needed.
Thanks, Carrie. I'll turn it back over to Cassandra, who will discuss FY24 closeout activities.
Hi again, everyone. This FY25 end of year list was in the newsletter, I think starting last week. This is a list of just everything that PHL pre-K providers need to do before the end of the year. So I'll go over what's on the list really quickly, but if you either get your hands on this PowerPoint, you can click on that hyperlink there, or if you just go into your most recent issue of the newsletter, it's right at the top. There's a link there to the PDF. So what's on this list is that you need to input future discharge dates for all children into childware by May 31st. So that should be your last day of programming. Then just a reminder again about supplemental spending, which Carrie talked about on this call. PD registry, just making sure that everything's up to date in there. Making sure that career pathway levels are up to date, that your classroom information is as up to date as possible. Make sure you inventory your creative curriculum kit, make sure you have everything that you need there. And then ASQ online, just what I went over earlier, attend a training if you've been invited to one. And then Teaching Strategies Gold, way after the checkpoint on May 15th. Before June 30th, we want you to just make sure that you archive any 4-year-olds. Not delete the child record, but archive them. So more details about that if you go into the newsletter and click on that link with instructions about how to really complete all of this. That's it.
All right, thank you. At this time, the Spark Quality Support Center will update you on upcoming future events.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Before we get into our upcoming events, I just wanted to introduce or reintroduce myself to everyone. I'm Julie Beeman Jackson, and I'm serving as the director of the Spark Quality Support Center. I actually started this position back in January, and I realized that I had not had an opportunity to formally introduce myself to the provider community, the PHL pre-K provider community. It's nice to see a few familiar names and some faces on this call. I did serve previously under the Kinney administration as part of the team that launched PHL Pre-K, and I'm really excited to be back supporting providers via the Spark Quality Support Center. So just wanted to say hello. Looking forward to working with everyone, and I will also drop my email in the chat if anyone wants to reach out and have questions. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to Rex with our updates.
Welcome, Julie, and glad that you're on the Spark Quality Support team. Hi, all. I'm Rex. I'm the Spark Quality Support Center's Deputy Director of Content and Learning Strategy. Just want to share some upcoming quality support opportunities we have coming up, whether it's coaching or trainings. I will be dropping a lot of links in the chat. A lot of this information will also be featured in the PHMC's weekly newsletter. So after this, please find any of that information this Friday afternoon. Otherwise, please keep track of my link posting in the chat here. All right. So as just previously mentioned, we have those spring TSG checkpoints, and providers are working towards finalizing those. Our coaching team is offering office hours that can provide any supports as you're working through those TSG checkpoints. You might be already working with a coach, or you might be seeking support from your coach. So these 2 upcoming office hours are available. First one's on Monday, May 6th, and the next one's on Monday, May 13th. Both available, both at 1 to 2 p.m. If you're interested in joining one of these office hours, one or both of these office hours, please contact your PHL Pre-K coach, and they can provide the meeting information so you could join those office hours. We are wrapping up our community of practice on the many dimensions of the class tool. The last few months, we had been engaging providers and having a better understanding of the class domain, instructional support, and really delving into the dimensions. And this last session that we're having will be focusing on language modeling, and we'll be wrapping up this community practice on our final session that's happening on Friday, May 10th at 10 to 12. If you're interested in joining that session, I am going to drop that link in the chat so you can register for it. Really enjoy the conversations we've had with those providers who've been attending them. This past year, we also worked with the Erickson Institute to provide a trauma-informed practices certificate. And so on my screen here were the 6 topics that we offered throughout this past year. Each of them really connected to trauma and early childhood education. And all these sessions are recorded. So whether you're someone who was only able to attend one or some or none of the sessions, these sessions are available through the townsquarecentral.org website. I am going to drop in the chat the Knowledge Center link that can provide more information about this certificate program. This is only available for family childcare and group home providers. So if you are interested in completing these session recordings, there are 6 to complete in total. If you do complete them, the website that houses the session recordings do not collect your personal information. So if you do complete them, please email Spark, whether you're informing your coach or contacting me and informing us that you completed the recordings. For anyone who do complete the 6 sessions, you will have the choice of receiving a social emotional bundle from Lakeshore. One option is the Behind the Low Red Door social emotional activity kit. The other is the Peaceful Kids classroom yoga kit with the Building Empathy Hardcore Library. And just contributing to the current conversation we're having about kindergarten transition, we do have upcoming professional development opportunities that are related to kindergarten transition. One is coming up this Friday, which is What's So Different About Kindergarten Anyway. And then in a few weeks, we have on Thursday, May 16th, the second step community practice on kindergarten transitions for older preschool. I'm dropping those links in the chat if you want to get directed to those event pages. This last year, Spark has also been working with Lakeshore Learning to provide the Pyramid Model Series. Some of you attended our August in-person session. And then the last few months, we've been continuing to offer the Part 1 and Part 2 sessions. Upcoming, we currently have 2 more Part 2 sessions available. So, and Part 2 here is called Understanding, Preventing, Responding to Challenging Behaviors, focuses more on that Tier 2, Tier 3 of the pyramid model. So we have 1 session coming up on Friday also, May 3rd, and another one coming up on May 15th. Both of these are through Zoom. So again, I'm going to drop these links in the chat if you want to register for one of those sessions. These are definitely great opportunities, especially around when you're thinking about your classroom practices and being responsive to behaviors that are challenging to you or to us. Spark is interested in continuing to work with Lakeshore Learning to provide additional professional development opportunities. And lastly, May is typically our last full month of professional development opportunities. June will also have a few, but here are just some topics that we have just as folks are either thinking about preparing for their summer program, or you're thinking about your family and community engagement strategies as it aligns to enrollment and retention. And lastly, some business and leadership topics here. So setting the stage for summer programming is a great session for any of you to attend as you are thinking about your summer programs, really reflecting on anything around your instruction, classroom, or programming, funding opportunities, and even how to engage with families who may not be participating in summer programming. Some family engagement topics we have here: how to recruit, retain families, and fostering community engagement and early childhood education. Both can be great opportunities for you as you're thinking about marketing and enrollment, and also engaging with the broader community around your provider locations. And lastly, some business topics around employee retention, your employee handbook, and onboarding new hires as we're kind of transitioning out from this current school year and going to a new school year. In the chat, I'll drop the events calendar link. You can find all these opportunities on there and also much more that I wasn't able to cover. Hope to see all of you soon.
Great. Thanks so much, Rex, and thanks, Julie, as well. At this time, we will discuss the family-facing supports in PHL Pre-K. One of those supports is provided by the Family Navigator. The Family Navigator support includes supporting families of children referred to Elwyn or in the pipeline of being referred. The Family Navigator also supports families with accessing appropriate funding for behavioral health services. The Family Navigator supports families in crisis and connects families with community resources. I do want to clarify that the Family Navigator will only support families in crisis and connecting with community resources if those families are already receiving supports for early intervention or behavioral health. If those families are not receiving that type of support, then we would bring in our family engagement coordinator, and I will turn it over to Jen, who will share the supports the Family Engagement Coordinator provides.
Yes, our family engagement coordinator is Medea Pruitt. She started with us in December. This is a new position that we offer here at PHL Pre-K, and we work to really just support families in whatever way that we can. So Medea specifically works to support with families when they call the intake lines, make sure they were connected to a center, and to support with connecting families to your centers daily. She advocates for families and provides support services as needed. She coordinates connections with the community if the family needs support with some resources, helping to connect the dots to get those diapers or housing support and things of that sort. She also provides outreach to non-responsive families of children who have chronic absences if requested by a provider. We have supported with some families where the child has not been attending, and we know we can't just discharge them. We want to do some more outreach to find out what's going on before we make that final decision of how to keep them in or if they do have to go. And sometimes it's really connecting them with another location, and Medea works to support with that. So if you think you may benefit from the Family Engagement Coordinator, feel free to email us at phlprek@phmc.org so that she can work to connect. You can also share with your provider services team. We've been getting a lot of questions or inquiries of support from them as well. So if you are talking to them and say, hey, how can we get connected with the Family Engagement Coordinator? They will be able to assist you as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. And also to access the Family Navigator supports, we have a link to a Cognito form in the PHMC provider update. You can complete that form and the family coordinator or myself will follow up with you. So as we wrap up today's meeting, just want to highlight some dates to remember. The ASQ online trainings are scheduled for May 10th and May 20th. The TSG checkpoint is May 15th. The kindergarten registration deadline is May 31st, and the supplemental funding expense reports are due on June 10th. I believe we have a couple of questions in the chat. Let's see. No, we don't have any. Okay. Okay, well, if we have no questions, we will conclude today's meeting. Thank you so much for attending and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.